Hello, it's April from April's Home, and today I'm here to share with you one of my favorite family dinner recipes. This is my recipe for hamburger pie. I have been eating hamburger pie since I was a child. It is a favorite with my whole family. We really enjoy this. So I thought today that I would make up a couple of these pies and share with you my recipe. This is a really easy recipe. You'll need for 2 pies. Now you can easily split this recipe in half. But I always like to make 2 while I'm making it. We love it as leftovers. In this case, I'm making 1 for me and my husband and 1 for my daughter and her husband. They just had a brand new baby, so I thought I'd bring 1 over since they really enjoy this meal. So you will need some ground beef. I have 3.7 pounds here, so you need about 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds per pie. So a little over 3 pounds or 3.5 pounds. We're going to be browning that up. You'll need 2 boxes of pie crusts, each with the 2 crusts in them. It's a double pie crust, so you'll need, for 2 pies, you'll need these 2 boxes of 4 crusts. You'll need salt and pepper. You'll need canned corn, 2 cans of corn. We'll be draining those and adding those. Tomato soup, 2 cans of Campbell's tomato soup, just the standard 10 3/4 ounce cans. You'll need some ground oregano. You'll need some chopped onion, and you'll need some sugar. So I'm going to go ahead now and get my hamburger opened up and into a big pan on my oven. I'm going to go ahead and cook this all the way through, and then at the end we'll drain it and mix in all of our ingredients. So I have my hamburger in the pan here. I'm going to go ahead and brown that up. But before I brown it up, I'm going to go ahead and add the minced onions. I am going to add 2 tablespoons. If you're making 1 pie, you would just need 1 tablespoon. And here's my 2nd tablespoon. And I'll just go ahead and stir that around and get this all browned up. And if there's any excess fat in here, this is a fairly lean bunch of hamburger here, so I don't think there will be too much fat, but whatever fat there is, we will drain out before we mix in any of our other ingredients. So while this is cooking, I'd also like to point out it's a good idea to go ahead and keep your pie crust sitting out while you're making this so that they can come to room temperature a little bit. It helps them to unroll a little bit easier. So I've got those 2 sitting out. I'm going to go ahead and brown this hamburger up, and I'll come back when this is all done and show you the next step. As you can see, my hamburger is cooking away. I've also preheated my oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and I've got out 2 glass pie dishes. Okay, so my meat is all cooked and drained, but before we get started mixing everything in, I'm going to go ahead and set up my 2 pie crusts here. Okay, so I've opened up 2 of the rolls here, and I've just rolled it out into this pan, and then I kind of go around and press it into the pie pan just so that the edges reach the bottom and all of that. Here's another one here. Try this one-handed, not have my tripod out today. Anyway, you get the idea, so you will just put them in here like this, and that way they'll be all ready to fill with our filling as soon as we're done mixing that up. I've got my pie crusts all ready to go, and my hamburger is here all cooked and drained. And now I'm going to go ahead and add my 2 cans of tomato soup, and there's 2. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my 2 cans of drained corn. And these cans are 15.25 ounces. Just a standard size can of corn. Okay. And then I actually like to add in all the different spices and things before I stir it up. Okay, so to this mixture you'll need 2 teaspoons of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Got that right here. And I will go ahead and write the ingredient amounts down in the description box. You will need 1/4 teaspoon of ground oregano. And you'll need 2 tablespoons of sugar. And of course, you could just split these measurements in half if you're only baking 1. So now I'm going to go ahead and stir this all together here. Just completely combine it all together. And I'll be back to show you the next step. Because this was nearly 4 pounds rather than just slightly over 3 pounds, it looks like it needs a little bit more tomato soup. So I'm going to add another 1/2 can of tomato soup. I'm going to add just a little bit more of the seasoning, a dash of pepper there, a dash of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of sugar there, and I'll also go ahead and add another little dash of oregano. Just because I added more of the tomato soup, just want to keep those flavors balanced out. Again, the amounts in the description box will be accurate for the amount of meat included in the recipe. If you use closer to 3 pounds or 3¼ pounds of hamburger for these two pies, the measurements will be a little bit more accurate. But again, this was quite a bit of a bigger pack of hamburger, so I'm adding a little bit more of the ingredients there just to make it a little bit more moist. And that looks just about right here. I've got it all stirred together. I really like to make sure to really stir this up so that we don't have any clumps of any one of the spices or salt or sugar. So I have thoroughly mixed this up, and now I'm going to transfer it over to my pie pans. So I'm just going to split this amount in half between the two pie crusts here, and I'll show you what that looks like. And then we'll get the top of the pie crust on and get these in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So I have both of my pie crusts filled evenly. I've opened up another one of the pie crusts, and I just lay it on the top and roll it out. Let's go ahead and roll it out like that, and then we will go ahead, make sure that's all the way on. Then I like to pinch it under and make sure it's attached to the pie crust beneath it there. Sometimes I just roll it in like this or under. I go around, I just make sure to press it all the way around so that it is sealed. And then afterwards I go around and make it look a little bit prettier. Sometimes I pinch the crust, sometimes I use a fork to just put a decorative edge on the pie crust. Again, you just want to make sure that you've sealed the edges here so that the filling doesn't bubble out. Of course, we will also be making some slits in the top. I'm going to go ahead now and get the tops on both of these pies, and then I'll come back to show you how we prepare the rest of the crust and get that into the oven. I have put the tops on both of the pies, and I just went around the pies with a fork, just like so, just to make sure that the edges were sealed and looked even. And now I've got a knife here. I'm going to poke a hole in the center. Maybe I'll do a little triangle there. And then I just like to put a few more holes on the side, just like so, just venting holes. So I'll just do a little X in the middle. And again, with a few venting holes. Okay, so there are the pies. They are all ready to go in the oven. These will cook at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 25 to 35 minutes. I will go ahead and get these in the oven and tell you how long it takes to cook in my oven. Of course, every oven is different, so I would make sure you take a peek at them and make sure that the crusts aren't getting overly browned. Since the filling is pretty much completely cooked, all the meat is cooked, you just really need to heat it through and bake the crust. So we'll pop these in the oven for about 25 minutes, and I'll come back to show you how they turned out. Okay, so here they are out of the oven. You can see they are boiling, boiling hot. Some of the filling has kind of come out of the crust here. That sometimes happens, and it's okay. As it cools down, it kind of just settles in, and it still tastes absolutely delicious. So these are the pies. They took about 35 minutes to cook. I think the crust looks nice and cooked. So I'm going to go ahead and let these cool down a bit before I serve them up. Also made a batch of lemon cupcakes tonight to go with our pies for dessert here to send over with my daughter with her pie. So I'm going to go ahead and let these cool down, and then I'll come back and we'll cut a slice and give it a taste. Okay, so the pie has cooled down enough to serve up a piece. I've served myself a piece right here. It does definitely help to let this cool a bit before cutting it. Otherwise it can sometimes fall apart. But that's okay. Again, it still tastes delicious even if it falls apart. So now I'm going to go ahead and give this a try. This turned out absolutely delicious, and it tastes just like I like it. Again, this is a big family favorite with us. We absolutely love this pie. I have been making this since I was first married, and of course my mother made it for us when I was growing up. It's definitely a delicious comfort food. The yummy crust, the delicious meat filling, the corn, the little crunchy bits of corn in there, really, really good. I like to serve our hamburger pie sometimes with a side salad, sometimes with a fruit salad or a side of fruit, something simple like that. You could also do a veggie side if you wanted to as well. You can also make your own crust for this also. I used to always make my own crust, but now I'm a little bit busy, so it's nice to take the little shortcut with the store-bought pie crust, and it still tastes delicious. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at our family favorite recipe, hamburger pie. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.